Hi, welcome to episode 19. I'm Alison, and today I have a special guest with me. It's my husband, Aaron.
Hello.
And we are super excited to talk about something that we've actually talked about a lot as a couple. And we call it low effort relationships. And today we're going to get into what are low effort relationships, how to know if you are in one or if you are the person that is actually exhibiting the low effort in the relationship. And I think this topic is so fun, just as we've grown as a couple and we've grown in different friendships, familial relationships, work relationships, to really understand what we are capable of, what we're willing to put up with in relationships, what we believe we deserve. And so we're just gonna have a lot of fun talking about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's just dive in. First of all, you may be wondering, what is a low effort relationship? So the way that I define, or we can kind of talk about it, define a low effort relationship is it's one where one or both people are technically present, right? So you're together, but they're emotionally disengaged.
Yeah, I would say we originally, when we started thinking about this, we used to call it the vampires, the people that sucked your energy or the people that kind of gave you energy. That was kind of the beginning stages of what it looked like to be. And then we've kind of gotten a lot deeper into what the actual effort behind, or lack of effort, I guess, means.
And I think that it's really interesting to point out too, a lot of this stems, again, from our childhood. So what we were shown as children into how much effort is put into relationships versus how much effort you believe that you deserve. Yeah. Okay, so kind of think about that. Think about what it looked like in your childhood with the relationship between your parents, how much effort was put in between your mom and dad, how much effort they put in to the relationship with you, to relationship with friends, to relationship with coworkers, to relationship with their family, right? And that will give you a good idea of where you set, because that's the pattern that you were shown, and that's what you are going to think is normal.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, because you hear people say oh, my parents have a great relationship, or I have such a good relationship with so-and-so. And if you ask them, well, how do you know that? And it's well, my dad always came home from work every day and my mom had dinner. And obviously I don't want to say anything about stereotypes, but those days, that was a very common thing. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about someone going off to work and then coming home to a home cooked meal. That's really not what we're talking about here.
That's the physical presence.
That's
we're talking about,
the emotional, room, but the emotional connection. And there's activity that comes with it. Physical pieces of it is part of effort. We'll get into some of that as we get going.
For sure. So let's talk about how are they going to know if they're in a low effort relationship? And the other thing I want to preface too is this is a pattern. So it's not you go to lunch once and they exhibit these type of behaviors. It's we're talking years, months, years of patterning where it's this low effort into getting to know you, to asking questions, right? I would say the biggest one is does the other person seek to know and understand you?
Yeah, do they take a vested interest in getting to know you and understand you and then accept you and even ask questions, challenge you, push you, probe, show general interest other than, how's your day? That is not an effort question. That's a low effort question.
Yeah.
An effort question is, what
Tell
was
me
the
what
best
you're
part
working
of your
on.
day? What are you interested in? What drives you? What challenges do you have right now? Or, what was the biggest hurdle you had to overcome in this day? Or what are you really looking forward to celebrating in the next 6 months? Those are effort questions.
It's that effort to want to get and know you at a deeper level. Yeah. Right. So a lot of low effort relationships, how I would define them, I'd be interested to see what you think, but I would call them more surface relationships where you kind of rub the surface. It's how are you? How's the weather? How's your job? How are your kids? And that's about as deep as you go. Yeah. Would you say?
Oh, totally. And I think a lot of people they just have never really been shown what I would say opposite of high would be low, or low would be high. It would be what's a high effort relationship look like?
Yeah.
What's a quality conversation that you would have with a friend that you considered a high effort relationship or high value?
And what the amount of energy that you put into that and what you received back in energy. And the thing is too, I really want to say is like being in a low effort relationship isn't bad. So if you're in relationships where you just only talk about like the weather, your kids, your job, you know, like how are you, your job, that's fine. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's more just having the awareness of noticing, like, do you feel fulfilled in those relationships? If you do, super. If you don't, then really noticing where you're putting in little effort or they're putting in little effort and noticing like where the disconnect is.
Yeah, I would say like, to think about it, it's like kind of like, do you have like high value relationships or relationships that you place an extreme amount of value on?
That's a good way to think about it.
In those, are you showing up as either in the low effort way, or are you receiving low effort from a high value relationship? And a great way to put it is you show up, you're really excited to connect with them. Maybe it's over lunch or for a walk or a workout or whatever. And you leave just feeling like, like let down. You're like, gosh, I was jacked to get into this conversation. I was so excited to see him. And it was just like, well, that sucked. Like,
flat, real
I got out of there
stagnant.
being like, why did I just do that? I was really interested. I had this whole list of questions in my mind. I thought about them. I kind of prepared. I was really excited to see them. And then I got there and they just kind of gave the one word answer and never asked me any like questions back. It wasn't a two-way conversation. And it just left me feeling flat out of there. And you're kind of like, that's usually a pretty good indication. Maybe this is a low effort relationship.
If that happens over and over, you're going to have those times. People are going to be in bad moods. They're going to be
tired,
whatever.
distracted. Yeah, sure.
But if that is a repeat pattern, that's when you want to start to be curious about, wait a minute, is this a low effort relationship? I think another way to think about low effort is how much they're willing to compromise or collaborate.
And you too.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, and
like,
we'll get into in our relationship who's the low effort and what that looks like. But in like you can't, if you're listening, you can't see, but he's pointing at me like it's gonna be me, just so you know.
It's a low point.
But I think it's interesting when you think about the relationships you're in where you always compromise. And they make most of the decisions, you just kind of go along with it. And I think a lot of it is to avoid the tension. Right? Like you're afraid if you came, like let's say I was like, hey, we're doing this. Well, this is a good example because I for sure would be the one that would not compromise or collaborate.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, this is what I'm doing and you like it or you don't, but I'm doing it anyway. And so it's like, if you came to me and said like, I don't want to do that, like what would hold you back just because you were afraid of my reaction?
Yeah, afraid of your reaction. Also, I may not have been aware of my needs not being met. Like I might have been so patterned to just giving in and like not having my needs met. So
that's a good one. I think that's a really interesting point. If you are the person that puts in the low effort, the other person, is this what I'm hearing, is so used to meeting their needs, the other person's needs, that they don't even think about their own needs.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And you kind of sitting there like,
so
where are my needs in all of this as well?
I think that's a really good point of awareness. If you're in a relationship where you don't even think about your needs, that may be like a red flag to be like, oh, wait, how much effort is being put back and forth, or is it one-sided?
Yeah, and that's, like a good way to think about it is like, think about your past experiences or conversations, and were you ever comfortable enough to outline your needs or your requests? Were things always done at the location of the other person's? Did you always get coffee at the same spot because it was convenient for them? Do you always talk about the same things over and over again? And you're falling into this pattern of this kind of low effort, low value, but you're really not sure what your needs are. And that's where it gets...
Do you think you see this more in friendships or more in marriage?
I think you see it more in like relationships of like marriage. I think you see it in siblings, and I think you see it in like parent-child relationships. I think some friendships do it, but I don't know if we've seen a lot of that in like the relationships we either have friends with or friends that we know.
Especially with this one, like with the compromise or collaborate.
It's almost the opposite of with friends. It's almost the opposite. It's like, oh no, where do you want to go? Oh no, where do you want to? And both people almost are almost totally unbiased to a point of like, that's not even real. Like, you're not even like, yes, I know you want to go to this place. Why don't you just flip and tell me that's where you want to eat?
No one's
Like,
willing
I
to
know
make a
that's where you want to
decision.
go. And I'm like, you want to go here? And it's like, well, yeah, that's fine. But do you want to? It's like, those are a whole different set of, I think, like relationship dynamics. I think the low effort one shows up big time in marriages, partnerships, and then like parent-child relationships is where you see
Or
them
siblings.
a
I
lot.
mean,
Siblings,
I definitely
a little
see
bit.
low effort in friendships for sure, but I think in the compromise or collaborate, I don't see that as much in friendships as for sure in like the marriage or like, yeah, with siblings, where it's like if you have a sibling that it's like they always make the decision. We see it with our
Yeah, it's
our
the
three
classic
kids.
middle child syndrome. I mean, that is the middle child. They're just going to go with whatever
Where they
is
have no
going
needs.
because
Yeah,
they
we
have
see
no
that with
needs,
our middle child.
and they're not going to put any effort in because it's just going to get dominated by one of the bigger, louder personalities that are
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And that's something to be acutely aware of.
Where we do see it in our own family dynamic with our three kids, because our oldest, I would say, probably is the loudest and puts the least amount of effort into the relationship with the other two kids, but the other two kids are the ones always having to compromise.
But she's the one that would put the most amount of effort into her friends.
Yeah.
She's the one buying the special gift. She's the one that's thinking of the homemade card. She's the one that's really attuned to her friends' likes
And all that
needs,
tells
and
me
it's
is she
just-
doesn't feel super safe at home
Right.
in our family dynamic, that's where she finds her value within friends, truthfully. But I think going back to like the compromise, especially in marriage, I just think it's so interesting. It really is that both partners' needs matter. They're both being able to be heard, like seen, validated, and there's compromise. So it's like, I really don't like this. Can we do this? So for instance, with us, here's a story that I think of. We got a dog a few years ago, and I did not want a dog, but the kids wanted a dog, and Aaron wanted a dog, and I like dug my heels in. So it's like, I remember maybe the first winter we had her, it was really cold, and Aaron was like, "Can you take the dog out?" And I was like, "No. I'm not taking the dog out. It's too cold and I didn't want this dog." And I mean, as I'm saying it, I can really appreciate how like selfish and bitchy that sounds. But it was like, I feel like in that instance, right? It's like I was not willing to compromise and I felt very justified because I didn't want the dog. But then to me, that's like a very low effort, low value relationship.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say like that's a spot on example because there are things that we don't want to do. Right. But this is what I was going to say is like in a low effort relationship, what changes that is effort. And like my word of the year, one of them I have two, one of them is effort. And it sounds weird to say effort because I immediately think of forcing and I've got to exert energy into something. And, for me, it really is like with the kids. So I'll give you a good example. One of the little kids came up the other night. I was like, hey, he was kind of having trouble. Didn't really want to go to bed. And I was like, go grab your checkerboard. Let's play checkers on the floor. And we sat in our bedroom on the floor. Then we played checkers for 10 minutes. And I did not want to play checkers. It was getting to be my bedtime. I get up early. I like a very certain routine in the morning. And every minute that I'm up later is a minute less of sleep I get. And I get real tight around that schedule. But I was like, you know what? I need to put effort into him right now. He's feeling depleted. He's feeling a little alone. And we sat there and we played checkers. And it was hilarious. We laughed. We giggled. It was a super great little bonding time. And then he got up and we went to bed. And I felt fulfilled and he felt fulfilled. And that's like an example of like, I did not want to do it. But I had to go back to my word of like, my word is effort. If I need to show him, and immediately what I was thinking is like, how am I going to show him how to show up later in life? And I was like, he's going to sit here and be like, yeah, dad sat down and played checkers with me. Remember he does, maybe he doesn't, I don't know. But in my mind, I was like, this is super important. I can grab these 10 minutes and I can like really pour into this with a high level of effort that really is not going to change the course of fate for me. And we did it. But like, it has the impact. And that's an example of like how effort changes from low to high effort, high quality relationships, I think, in that little example.
And I think that's a small example. We could talk about that timid example
and build on
all
that
the way up to like the type of house you buy, the type of car you buy, the type of vacation you go on. Small shift can make such a huge, like the small shift of me taking the dog out when it was cold could have created a deeper connection for Aaron and I know it sounds really funny, but it could have, instead it drew a bigger wedge, right? Because it's like, he's not feeling seen, I'm annoyed. That's the difference, I think. Another way I think that low effort relationships really show up is when people are not able to validate your feelings or your lived experiences. So like, let's say you are in a marriage and you're listening to this and you go and you're like, hey, I feel like, we always do what you want to do, or I feel like not heard. And they get real defensive. They're like, what are you talking about? Oh my gosh, we've done this and we've done this, right? It's like,
Red flag.
yeah, that's like a low effort in growth. I mean, there's like effort in growth, effort in seeing you, right? It's like, do they have the ability to put a little effort into understanding your experience? And I think that's probably one of the toughest ones. What do you think?
Yeah, I think for me, what comes up when you said is like awareness, like the awareness to be like I'll use like the examples that work good for me. It's like when we ever go on vacation, Alison is the head planner. She's the one that gets all the details. I do not like sitting looking at all that. I don't want to do it. I just want to be off script the entire time. But I know it's a terrible idea. So she puts the effort into planning, and I started acknowledging. I'm like, hey, I see that you put a lot of effort, and planning this is really, really important to you, and you're really, really good at it. But I also know I need to help. And what all of a sudden, kind of like the dog example, what happens is Alison now feels really, really empowered. She feels seen. She feels acknowledged. She probably feels safe to make decisions, because I'm like, every power trip we've been on, it was, you knocked it out of the park. You did it so well. And it started from like our first trip when we went to like Italy, and she just did everything perfectly, no lines. It was amazing. But it was like, I can't just sit back and assume that she's going to do that, because that creates a whole nother situation. So it's like, she's putting a ton of effort into making this trip really, really fun and important. I need to show up with the same level of effort, even though I'm not as good as it, but I can show up acknowledging her. I can ask, what can I do? Like, give me a list of to-dos. I'm real good at to-do lists. I love to run errands. Like, I'll do that all day. So it's like, you tell me what you need done, I'll go do it. I'll take the kids, I'll get out of here, and I'll be back in an hour. And so that's what effort, I think, kind of looks like to me.
Yeah. It gives me the mental vision of like a teeter-totter, right? Yeah. Where when you're in balance, it's like going up and down, up and down. When you're in a unbalanced relationship, that's a red flag. Probably there's one person's putting in more effort than the other, and it's like you're just stuck at the bottom, right? Yeah, you're just at the very top. It's like, I'm putting in 60, 70, 80, 90% of the effort, and I'm not having any reciprocation.
Yeah, and that teeter-totter example is such a good one, right? Because both people, when they hit the ground, have to use their legs and strength to power it back up. So you have effort, and then it comes down, you get a little break, and then it comes up. And that's, if you're sitting on a teeter-totter that's flat, nobody's doing anything. That's a pretty good indication, like, this might be kind of one of these low effort relationships that I'm stuck in, and I don't know if I really like this type of dynamic. Yeah,
it's either going to be flat or you're going to be on the top.
Yeah.
For a lot, like I'm saying, like long.
No, you'll actually be on the bottom. You're the one that's always trying to push or hold. Like the person at the top is exerting no effort. They just get to hang out up there, enjoy the view. They're probably chilled out.
Well, that's why I must have seen myself at the top, because I.
Well, yeah, I was the one at the bottom in a really uncomfortable squatted position for a 40-some-year-old man with my knees hurting. Yeah. While you're just up there hanging out. Yeah, exactly.
Totally. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny how you. Okay.
So I think that I think that that's such a really good example of like, there's the effort too. It's more than just physical effort, right? It's more than just like, hey, give me a to-do. It's like what Aaron said at the beginning was like, I see you. I appreciate what you're doing. Can I help, right? It's that effort to be vulnerable, that effort to be connected at an emotional level, and that effort to grow together. Don't you think? I feel like, I think that's like, I would say we've been married 20 years. So for like the first 18 years of our marriage, I shared my entire inner world. If anyone knows me, it's like, I have no problem sharing. I like overshare, right? It's like, oh, let me tell you all the craziness I have that goes inside my head. So I would share with Aaron all these thoughts and feelings, and he just would, listen and whatever. But the extent of the vulnerability that I would receive from him was like, fine. Everything was always fine. And it's like, well, I can tell that you're stressed. You're like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, right? And that was basically a low effort characteristic of Aaron, of not putting effort into the vulnerability to have that deeper connection. And it goes, I think, in so many ways. It goes with, in any relationship, I think it's like, it's easy to share on like hard times, or like hard things you're struggling with. It's like, hey, I'm really struggling with this, and you can connect. But it's also being in a high value, high effort relationship. You also share when things are really good. Like, hey, I'm doing this. I'm training for this. This is a big thing in my life. I want to share with you. Can you be that vulnerable to share in both instances?
Yeah, and there's so many examples that come up where this, just wasn't a part of our like relationship DNA. It was you would overshare, I would undershare. We both showed up in low. I think at that point we were both low effort.
From the emotional side, for sure.
Of things, yeah.
And I do want to preface this. I was raised with a very extroverted, social mom. Like, she had a lot of energy, right? And my dad's very introverted, very quiet, very calm. I would now, looking back, there's very little effort my dad put into things, right? And it's like, that's what I was shown. And what happened was Aaron and I actually reversed. So he was more like my mom, and I was more like my dad. So like, I remember as a child, like my mom did everything, and my dad really didn't ever do anything. I mean, not that he didn't do anything, but he didn't do a lot. And even just that, but even the deeper part of like, he wouldn't share openly. Like when we would remodel a house, like he knew all of this stuff. And we were like, hey, do you know how to do this? He's like, yeah. I'm like, why didn't you ever share that?
Yeah.
Right? It's like he didn't want to put that much effort into sharing and having to do it.
Well, and again, I think the two things going on. One, societally, there's definitely there's definitely some things that we fall into in terms of male, female, and relationship types. Secondly, I think there's what he was shown too, right? Growing up in a large family, lots of competing priorities, and when you grow up in those kind of dynamics, you learn really quickly to be quiet, to be safe, to get by. While your older brothers are getting in trouble for doing what they're doing, you learn very quickly, like, I can get a lot of praise and really get by very quickly and get what I want if I'm easy breezy and I don't really say much. I kind of just fade to the back. And I think it's probably some of your dad, but you get in there with him and he's got some very great conversation. He's got a lot of skills that you wouldn't really think, because he doesn't really share them. And until we built a mantle one day, and I'm like, holy hell, how do you know how to do this? And
he's like a wealth of knowledge that he never openly shares.
Right.
That's
he's
how
got to be invited into it. But again, it's like, this goes exactly back to the low effort versus effort thing. Someone has to invite or engage to pull it out. He's got to be available to provide that information or want to share it with you. And so this dynamic exists of where if no one's asking and no one's inviting and they're not willing to share, then you sit on that flat teeter-totter, like we just said, where that dynamic just exists. And every day, week, month that it goes on, it just becomes more part of the norm. And then you have kids in the background that are watching this movie in front of them, and they're just learning, and they're like, oh, this is just how it is. And so then they pick up one of those two parental traits and carry it forward into their, this is like, psychologically 101, right? But it's very interesting to see how those play out.
And I want to go back, because what you said is so good about, like, when I was saying my mom did everything, right? She did everything from a physical standpoint. Like, she did the laundry, she cooked the dinner, she did the groceries. Like, my dad, I think, mowed the lawn and took out the trash and vacuumed, right? Those were his 3 chores, or 3 to-dos. And he went to work and provided for a family. I don't want to discount any of that, but
as did your mom too.
But it also, it's like what we're talking about is there's a part of that, of the effort. It's like, oh yeah, we can be more balanced with like actual chores or physical things or money or whatever you want to, like external things. But then I think what we're really at the heart of this conversation is what you just said. It's like that he wasn't being vulnerable with this wealth of knowledge or this wealth of emotional connection that he just keeps inside. That's the bigger part of like the teeter-totter. When you just focus on the external, because we've been in that dynamic too, where it's like
crazy. I'm an action.
That's what we used to call my mom, like a
thing.
doer.
Yeah,
She's just a doer. If you called her to come help you, like if you're gonna move, you're like, oh, call your mom.
My saying used to be in life,
good.
no one's ever gonna outwork me.
Yeah.
I will get more done in an 8-hour day than most people do in a week. And I lived by that mantra, and it was exhausting.
Yeah. And so it's not like,
not where
if
the
you're
effort
only
is.
looking at the external, like, hey, I do this and you do this, and it's like that keeping score, that's not what we're talking about. It's literally the deeper effort of that emotional connection, sharing at a deeper level, being vulnerable at a deeper level, celebrating at a deeper level, like connecting at a deeper level. That's the effort you want to put into the relationships to shift into like what we call a high value relationship. And it will ebb and flow, just like nervous system regulation, right? You can't be regulated all the time. You're gonna, the point is to just, when you're out of it, to come back into it. You're not gonna be in a high value cycle 100% of the time. But I would say, for the most part, we have shifted to live in a more high value cycle because we've used some of these tools around awareness of like where we're showing little effort and made these 2 millimeter shifts to put forth more effort towards the other one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's such an easy thing to do, but a hard pattern to break, right? It starts with a very, like for us, it's like, do you guys think I'm crazy? I would watch like Facebook reels or read little emails about like, what are the 7 best questions I could ask my kids today? Because I got really frustrated with, how's your day? Fine. So I started saying like, what color was your day? How were the chicken nuggets at lunch? I don't know if they had chicken nuggets, but they'd be like, we didn't have nuggets. We had, and it would launch in. So I was like, I could just do this with Alison. If I could just ask 1 or 2 good questions, then the effort starts to come. Then she pours in, and now I now all of a sudden feel comfortable to start sharing. Then I'm like, hey, you know what? I had a similar experience today in my life. I had a really frustrating call, and I really was getting mad, and I got heated, and and it's like all of a sudden we create connection through these high value like efforts that we're putting in. That starts with a very like just simple question. Then that question though takes effort to think about. So I'm not saying you guys need to go out and like work a brand new muscle or make this seem impossible, but it does take a little effort to move the needle in those like to a high effort situation.
And I would say where I've had to put the most effort in is to validate his experiences. So when he comes to me and would say like, I feel like my needs don't matter, my initial response is like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Like I could not hold the space for his experience. And so I've had to put a lot of effort into being like, hey, tell me more. Like, I want to understand you. I want to understand where you're feeling like you don't matter, because that's not my intention, but I can see that the impact of something that's going on in our relationship is causing that. And I love you and I want to connect. And so that's where I would say that's where I've had to put the most effort. And we had a really bad dynamic at the beginning of our marriage where it was like, Aaron likes things a certain way. Well, of course, Alison doesn't do them that way. And so how I would handle it then would be like, screw it, you do it, I'm done. And I just shut down and would never do it again. And again, this is a pattern this is like how I've been my whole life. This is not a surprise to me, right? When I call myself a stubborn mule, it's like I will out stubborn most, like probably
I have a different
anyone.
word for it, but that we go stubborn mule now.
Well, so I've had to really put forth the effort into like help, like shifting out of that, like being able to do things not necessarily his way, but sharing with him like, hey, I really feel like I want to do it this way.
This is like the perfect example of effort, right? Like I had to be like, hey, I can see that I want things done a very certain way, and I can see that you don't agree or want to do it that way. Like, how do we find a common ground to get this like
we both want D to happen.
We both
how
have
we
the
get
same
there,
result
yeah.
in mind. How exactly? And so it's like having that, and you laugh, but it was like things over like vacuuming or like loading the dishwasher. And it's things like that. And it's like, Jesus Christ, like at the end of the day, we just want clean dishes.
Yeah.
How we get there, who cares? But it took like conversations or walks and be like, it really frustrates me when you put the silverware up versus down. And you're like, well, and then you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe we're arguing over the silverware in the dishwasher. But it's a deeper point. And it was like people's needs or requests weren't being met. Right. And it was
I think at the end of the day, everyone just wants to feel seen and heard. Yeah. Truthfully. And so
especially
it's like,
by what they deem a high value relationship. Like you may be like, you're a high value relationship person for me. Yeah. But if I'm in a low effort state and what I deem as a high value relationship, you got a serious disconnect. Yeah. Right. It's like I keep pumping in all this and she's like not acknowledging or he's not acknowledging and not being seen. Eventually you either keep pouring more tireless effort into this and getting the same result, or you finally say something has to change here. Like I am not being seen in this relationship. This is one-sided. Yeah. And I have needs that are not being met.
Yeah. And I think that's for me, it was always the effort to be able to see him. right? I remember when we were first married, my mom said, like, you should think about like how you can make Aaron's day a little better each day. And I remember being like, why would I do that? Red flag, Aaron. Just run,
story.
Aaron,
Yeah,
run.
I didn't know a lot of this until much later.
But it's like, and I mean, that's a really good piece of advice,
Yeah.
right? It's like, how can I make, like, what effort, small amount of effort can I put into his a day to help it run a little more smoothly? And if you're both thinking that, your day is going to just shine.
Yeah.
Right. And again, we've talked a lot about marriage, but I see this a lot like in parental relationships, right? Where I have clients whose parents will want to be with them, but then when they're together, there's no acknowledgement or no understanding of them. They don't know anything about them. Right. And it's like, okay, that's like a low effort relationship. And I know that's really hard to hear when it's your parent, but it's like, we have kind of seen this through just different familiar relationships that we've been in, where it's like, and I think about like kind of your dad, like it was like we put a lot of effort into seeing him and stuff, but there wasn't a lot of effort back in getting to know us.
Right. Yeah, and I think as we've grown, what's getting really hard is the kids are part of our unit.
Ecosystem.
And when we roll in to do something, we're generally trying to like do things as a unit, and having the kids go to another room to just watch TV or just like, yes, they should go outside and play and do that stuff, but like to kind of exclude them makes them feel alone. And so what we've been trying to do is bring them in, but it's hard when it's a hard dynamic when the parents just want to talk to you and spend time with you, but you're like, yeah, it's us plus these 3 other little tag-alongs that now get to come in and want to say stuff and be heard and be seen, and they usually get heard and be seen at our house, and then you bring them in here. Yeah, and so that dynamic is really difficult because then if you think about the word effort, that takes a tremendous amount of effort to be patient, to listen, to see and acknowledge like 3 kids that have loud voices that want to contribute.
And something you just said just triggered something for me. It's like, I think at the base, tell me what you think, but at the base of effort, it's like, are you able to be attuned to the other person?
Oh, attunement's a huge
in any relationship. Are you in friendships where you go and they just talk about themselves the whole time and there's no questions back and forth?
Yeah, while you sit there with your eyes kind of rolled back and they're not picking up on any of the body language, the tone.
They have no interest in getting to know what's going on in your life or how your job is or what, anything like that.
Or they're doing it just to get to the next part of what they want to say. Like they're checking a box and they're like, yeah, how's your job? Okay, great. Did I tell you about? And you're like, oh my God, you really don't give two turds about what I have to say. Yeah.
So there's like that. And it's like, or like if you're in a family dynamic where, your parents like, I want to see you. And then you go there and then it's just like they're on their phone or iPad the whole time. Right. It's like, that's like that lack of attunement. Or like in the marriage, like being really attuned to like, hey, I've been gone, like Aaron will travel. Right. And it's like, I know that it's been a lot for you to travel. Let's just go out to dinner. Right? Because Aaron hates to go out to dinner. I love to go out to dinner. But when you're home for a week with the kids and always doing dinner, right? That small amount of attunement is huge because it's like, oh, thank you. Then I don't have to worry about dinner. Right? And it's like that little bit of effort. Like that's what we're talking about is just being aware of that.
Ahead of it even more. It's like if I was coming home on a Thursday and it'd be like, hey, let's go get dinner Friday night. She would jump over the moon. She'd be like, oh my God, he sees me. He knows that this has been a rough week. He knows that this isn't something I really
It would be even better if he planned the whole thing.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, hey, I got dinner for us.
I made this reservation. We're going to go here.
Be ready to go.
Totally. And again, you think it's like, really in the scheme of things, that's not a lot of effort. Right? It's like, but when you're in this dynamic where it's like you're busy with work and you're traveling and, we've got the kids and stuff, it does take effort. I mean, it takes planning, it takes organizing, it takes taking the time to put forth the effort.
What just dropped in when you said that is I think some people hesitate to do that stuff. Because they're afraid of what their partner or whatever is going to react, right? Like I might be afraid to make a dinner reservation because you're not going to like the food. The kids may not like it. It might be part of your protocol that you're on. But I think some of it just goes back to conversation up front. Recognizing up front, saying, hey, I'm feeling like I am in a relationship with you where they're, and this is going to get dicey a little bit, but I think if you can come out and say like, I may be asking you some different questions and I'm really asking you to lean into what I'm doing, right? I know you're frustrated that I don't do this. I'm going to put effort into this, but I need you to also put effort into patience, communication. And like all of a sudden the other person's like, oh, okay, maybe. And again, if the other partner or the other person in the relationship is mature enough to have that conversation and to hear that, again, that requires effort, then I think then you start to move the needle in another direction. But I think some of it has to have, you might even have to have that weird, uncomfortable, awkward conversation up front that says, I'm going to kind of change the narrative. Can you change it with me?
Yeah. No, I think that's so
right.
good.
And it's weird to say that because it feels like, for me, I'm like, oh, that's like cringeworthy. I'm like, oh my God, I got to be this vulnerable with you. I'm like, really, it's like walking around naked at a parade. I'm like, everyone can see me right now. I just want to put clothes on and go, go do stuff so I feel better about checking my to-do list.
Yeah. No, it's so good. Okay, so let's talk about, what do you think the steps are or whatever? I think the first step in realizing if you're in a low effort or high effort relationship is the awareness, right? Just connecting with the points that we've talked about, looking at the different relationships in your life and being like, oh, this is where I see I'm in a low effort relationship, or I'm the one that's putting in low effort.
Yeah, like the person that just always wants you to come over and have a glass of wine or have happy hour, and you get over there and you're like, we're talking about the same stuff we talk about every week. I don't want to do this anymore.
Or
like, they're not
you've
seeing
quit
me.
drinking.
Yeah, you're not
This
drinking.
is another.
This one, it's like, yeah.
You're like, hey, I'm really trying to take care of my body. I'm not going to drink for a while. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, hey, you want to come over for a glass of wine? You're like, I'm not drinking. Like, it's like,
I'm doing vegan January. I'm not going to Capitol Grill this month. Like, stop asking me, right?
Like, do they, like, that's what we're talking about. So it's like really seeing that awareness, having that awareness of it first, right? And not judging, not blaming. It's just seeing that awareness. It's like, oh, and again, a great indicator is how you feel when you're with them.
Or how you feel before, too.
Or after.
That anxiety or that like, oh, man,
or if you leave feeling unfulfilled or like it was one-sided or tense. And again, this could be friendships, your parents, your siblings, your coworkers, your husband, right? If you go out with your husband and you feel unfulfilled, when it's just the two of you,
your
right?
Wife.
Yeah, well, or your partner. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. So I think the first thing, though, is like really having that awareness. Then what steps would you say that to just like give some people some tools to kind of help shift into more high relationship or high effort relationships, or shifting into putting forth more effort?
I would say some of it's like we just talked about, probably got ahead of our script here, but like just inventorying your relationships and then seeing which ones you think you really want to either put more effort in or ask for more effort to be given.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it gets really, really interesting, because you could find yourself in these relationships that you've been in for an extremely long time that you're going to now change the dynamic of that. And at that point, you got to be willing to ask yourself, like, what's the quality of this relationship and what do I want from it? And if I'm not getting what I want, are they able to give it to me?
Yeah.
Is this person really hard and scary? Like that's
is this person capable of hearing it? Maybe not necessarily giving it to me, but are they open for me to share?
Yeah. Everybody's capable. I mean, I'm case in point, right? But it's like, like you said, are they available at that time to do that? And again, this can be a slow drip. This doesn't need to be like the 2x4 to the face method. This can be a little bit of a slow drip of like where you just show up and start asking some more like spot specific questions. You know what I mean? Like, what industry someone is. Maybe you ask them about market trends, or like, hey, what's your day like? Like, how do you manage a day when you're running from here to there and doing this? Like, I'm really struggling keeping, and the answer you get will tell you that. It's like, oh, if it's really like high level vanilla answer, you're kind of like, okay, that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for here is like, God, I had to stop today and take a stress test. My heart was going so fast, I almost had a panic attack because I forgot one of the kids or whatever, right? But like, that's where I would start, where you're asking questions of yourself and then asking what relationships you're in. Like, can I show up in this effort way, and how's it going to be received?
Or can I ask for more effort, and how is it going to be received?
Yeah, I mean, that's like the next step of like, okay, I think they can do it. Can they do it? Will they do it?
It's basically, are they willing? But I think the biggest step, truthfully, is to be able to have enough confidence in yourself and that believe in yourself enough that you deserve to be in high effort relationships, that you can actually go and say, like, we've had many conversations where we go to each other and say, hey, I'm feeling this, like I'm feeling not seen. We're going on these walks and you're only talking about yourself. You have no idea what I'm struggling with right now. This is what Aaron would say to me because I share all my stuff.
This is what I was thinking in my head just now, yes.
So, okay, something Aaron would say to me would be like, hey, I need you to put more effort into having like some quality time, just you and I together, to like really connect at like a probably more physical, deeper level, and like really slowing down and seeing each other.
Yeah, usually at arm's length. I say that just in case she gets mad. But no, just kidding. But yeah, those are the kind of things where it's like recognizing that. Because at the end of the day, like the bigger macro picture here is like, if you consider yourself a person like I call yourself a high net, not financially, high value person. I have a high net worth as a human. I deserve quality relationships that effort becomes effortless because that's what I desire in my life. Like I require from you a high effort relationship that's you're meeting my needs, I'm meeting my own needs, you're meeting your needs, we're secure, but yet I demand this from you because I refuse to live in this low level relationship, low effort thing.
It's like where you're a doormat, basically, where people just kind of walk all over you.
You're just kind of there. You're just kind of blowing in the wind. It's like, that's not where, so again, I think it's like how you look at yourself and how you value yourself. And then you're going to value how you value your relationships starts to change because you demand that effort. And when you don't get it, you're done feeling that unfulfilled, that gook that's inside. You're like, God, why'd I do that again? You know, it's like you start to change. Well,
you start to call in the relationships, and when I think what you mean, like when you're saying like you demand it, it's like an energetic shift. It's not like you're going to that person and you're like, listen, you better do this. No, it's like this energetic shift inside of you where you're like, you know what, I deserve high value, high effort relationships, and that's it. There's no like, oh no, I don't want to. I have too high expectations of people, or I'm not worth that, or those people don't exist. None of that's there. It's like, oh no, I believe I deserve to be in these type of relationships. And it's an energetic shift inside of you. And what happens is you do start to repel those other relationships.
Right.
Because you're no longer an energetic match.
You're not satisfied with it anymore.
Surface level match anymore or a low effort. You're living in a high effort because that's what you're giving yourself internally.
Yeah, it shows up like nails on a chalkboard where you're like, oh God, here we go. And then, but the other one is completely opposite. You feel so alive and so invigorated when you're in these conversations. Like, I can't wait to have more. Like our walks, we walk a lot. Like, I'm like, I can't wait for our afternoon walk. I got stuff to share her about. And it could be little things, but I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to connect with her and share because I'm going to put the effort. And I know she's going to give me the effort right back. And I'm in a high effort, high value relationship where this is already a non-negotiable. Like, we're done talking about the weather. Like that's not where we're at anymore. Right.
Or just talking about our to-do list or who needs to go where, right? Obviously, we do a little bit of that, but I would say out of like a pie, right? You think about it's like probably 5% of what we talk about. The other 95% is just like
but even that, the effort side, you're like, hey, I got an appointment. Can I do this? Yeah, I can. Let me see if I can move a meeting. Where before I'd be like, hell no, I'm not moving that meeting. That's a pain. Or, hey, yeah, I can. I may just build that. Because again, it's the effort, right? I know that I can pour in this effort. I've got it. I can do it. She's going to do it. And it's like, we're in this relationship where the effort is not a question. It's like a true
partnership.
Yeah.
You really feel like it's a true partnership.
High value effort.
Yeah.
Right?
Where
like we're not in a low value.
Each person feels valued, feels seen, and feels like they matter, like they're important.
And I think a good indicator is if you're keeping score, you're in a low effort relationship. Like we used to have a scoreboard. I did. We don't have a scoreboard anymore. No. I don't ever think about she did this, I did this. There's no building a case for when you respond with evidence. It's like, no, there is no scoreboard. It's just effort.
Yeah. So, okay, you guys. Well, I hope you've gotten a lot out of this conversation. I feel like we covered a lot. I feel like this conversation too can like encompass a lot. So there's so many ways that effort can show up in relationships. Sure. We just kind of talked about a few ways. So I hope that this is, again, had just given you some insight, some awareness to maybe where there is some areas of growth for you in not only in your relationship with yourself. I mean, I think that's one we didn't even touch on is, are you in a high effort, high value relationship with yourself?
Well, that's what we were talking about, that high value. That's like the next level of like, how do I view myself? What's the value?
And I think that's really where it starts.
That's where I think, we should do another podcast, and I'm trying to get myself a guest sign up to come back because this is so fun. Like that, how do you view yourself? Because how you view yourself is kind of the company you keep.
Yeah, and then that leads into everything that we just talked about.
That's right.
For sure, I think that's a great...
So we're doing this like Star Wars. We're doing the sequel before the prequel.
For sure.
So we'll go do a prequel.
So you have to come back to like hear how to have a high effort, high value relationship with yourself. But anyways, I hope that you've just really enjoyed this and really taken some insights and maybe some perspective shifts on some of your relationships, and I hope we were able to give you some tools to help you kind of see things a little differently. Again, for me, it's always me putting forth a little bit more effort. I feel like Aaron put forth a lot of effort. For Aaron, it's probably putting forth effort in different areas. For me, it was just always, I got to put forth more effort because I didn't put forth lots of effort in any area.
Well, because you have a low self-worth thought about yourself.
Yeah.
So you were coming from a low value self-perception, so you're going to give low value out. Like that's just low value in, 100%. Low value out. This is very simple at that level, right?
Yeah. So anyways, I've really enjoyed having you on my podcast today. It's been so fun, and we hope that you guys have the most beautiful day, and we'll talk to you soon.